you please state your name for the court?
Mark Elgart.
And how are you employed?
Please spell your name first.
Spell your name.
E-L-G-A-R-T.
E-L-G-A-R-T. Thank you.
How are you employed?
The President and CEO of Advanced Education.
Do you hold any special titles or specializations?
Meaning?
Doctorate?
I have a doctorate in education.
All right. What is your educational experience?
I've been in education for 34 years. I was a classroom teacher at the middle and high school level, an administrator at the middle and high school level, and then have been in the accreditation arena for the last 19 years.
And for the last 19 years, have you been doing accreditation with Advanced Ed?
Advanced Ed was created in 2006 through the merger of two of the nation's regional accrediting agencies. I came to work in Atlanta in December 1994 for the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools.
Okay. And what is the relation between Advanced Ed and SACS? Because we hear both names thrown around.
Advanced Ed is the parent company. SACS is an accrediting division within Advanced Ed.
Okay. Would you briefly describe what is accreditation and how it works?
Accreditation, first and foremost, is a voluntary process. Schools and school systems, public and private, from early childhood on up through post-secondary, voluntarily commit to the accreditation process. The accreditation process is primarily focused on standards that are developed for evaluating the effectiveness of schools and systems and carrying out the work associated with those schools and systems. It examines the ability of the school and system to improve student performance over time, and it examines the relationship of the school and system to the community as a function of the community.
How does the program evaluate what it observes?
First and foremost, the standards and criteria upon which the accreditation is based is known and communicated to the entity, the school or the system seeking accreditation. We then ask that they go through a process of internal review. They examine their own performance in relation to the criteria, provide evidence to support that assessment, and they provide all of that to us prior to us arriving for an on-site review. Prior to the on-site review, we evaluate all of the evidence that they've provided us, prepare additional questions we may want to ask when we're on-site, work with the system to establish a schedule for the evaluation process so that the key stakeholders are available and able to interact with us appropriately during that time. We assign a group of professionals who are trained to conduct the evaluation to the evaluation process. They conduct the evaluation, and it could be 2 to 4 days depending on the nature of the evaluation. They carry out the evaluation in accordance with our training. They apply the criteria, and after the evaluation, develop a report of their findings.
What triggers this evaluation? Is it a yearly process, or does something in particular have to happen?
All of our schools and systems must be evaluated at least once every 5 years. That's during a normal, regular cycle of evaluation. However, in the intervening years, there can be events or activities or circumstance which require a special type of review to determine whether or not the school or system is still meeting the standards of the criteria upon which the accreditation is based.
What happens when a school system is found to not be meeting those criteria?
We will send in a team of professionals trained to not only evaluate determine that they're not meeting the criteria, why they're not meeting the criteria, and give them direction to address the criteria they're not meeting.
What happens if a school system fails to correct the identified criteria?
It will affect their accreditation. We have statuses, advised, warned, and probation. Each one is more severe, and probation is the step prior to the loss of accreditation. And those are used to give notice to the school or school system and basically give them the time frame upon which to make the necessary changes.
You mentioned accreditation advisement. Would you briefly explain what that is?
It's typically a situation or circumstance where there are concerns that must be addressed, and typically we give them 1 to 2 years to address those concerns, but in the interim we're expecting progress reports from the system or school to demonstrate that they are making the necessary improvements along those lines.
And you also mentioned accreditation probation. What does that mean?
Probation means that there are serious concerns that have yet to be addressed, or they are of such a severe nature that if they're not addressed in a very short period of time, could cause significant harm to the school or district and its operations and its ability to improve student learning.
What interaction did your organization have with DeKalb County?
We've had a long interaction with DeKalb County. They've been a part of the accreditation process for many decades. In the last 10 years, they've had significant ongoing concerns relative to governance, leadership, and the ability of the system to improve student performance.
So you mentioned governance, leadership, and the ability of the system to improve. Are those standards that you evaluate on?
Yes.
And could you describe a little bit about how DeKalb fared in those particular standards?
With the most recent reviews?
Giving the judge a good picture of kind of what we're looking at, so maybe a little bit from the beginning, middle, and where we are now.
Well, our standards are, first off, our standards are revised every 5 years by policy. And that process involves people from the field who are in our schools who are representative of experts in particular areas. We also go outside of the accreditation community and subject those to reviews by researchers who are experts in educational research and school effectiveness, and they provide us guidance on establishing those standards. So during the period of the last 10 years, DeKalb would have been under different standards, but each regular cycle they'd be under a new body of standards. Now they're not entirely new, but they're refreshed and represent the most recent research. So currently, the standards that apply to DeKalb County, there's 5 areas. First is an area of purpose and direction, that the system establishes a clear purpose and direction upon which the employees and community will commit to action, especially related to improvement. Second is governance and leadership. There are criteria under governance and leadership establishing the role of the board in governing the system and the role of the board to the administration in leading the system. The third is teaching and assessing for learning, where we're looking at the instructional environment upon which teachers are working each and every day in the schools. Are they providing an instructional environment that is leading to success for students? Are they using assessment data to make instructional decisions to improve the learning of students? The fourth is resources and support systems. Is the system good stewards of those resources? Are they applying those resources in areas of need across the system? Are they delivering those in an equitable manner, not necessarily equal, but looking at the needs of students and schools in various aspects of the community and providing the resources directed to help those students succeed in those settings? Also, do the students have access to support systems like counseling, health related matters, or ongoing support for special needs or ELL students, English as a second language students? The fifth standard is continuous improvement. We expect every school and system, no matter how good they are today, to enact a plan of improvement to be better tomorrow. And so we look at it in the context of where they're at, and we don't compare them to another system. We compare them to the criteria, and we compare them to their current reality, and are they improving the conditions upon which students are engaged in the learning process.
What were some of the particular issues that you observed in DeKalb?
DeKalb County's current condition is very similar to what it was, let me say current, with our last review in December. December 2012, we found a system that was remarkably similar to what it was 10 years ago. They were struggling with governance. They were struggling with improving student achievement. The system in 10 years under No Child Left Behind had never met the levels that were established as a system. They were always in improvement based on the state accountability system. The number of issues that are in the report, and as I heard testified earlier this morning, they've been there for a long time. Issues of perceived nepotism, issues of use of resources to address the needs of students in the schools, to the ability of the board to function effectively in carrying out its responsibilities. Those have been there for 10 years and were present in December still. We've worked with the system. In fact, I personally provided at no cost to the system over a year of mediation, meeting with the entire board to help them understand not only their responsibilities, but looking at policies and how policies could be reframed to help the board improve it carrying out its work, its relationship to the administration, and how to work as a team to directing the system. In all of these engagements, there was little or no progress made by the board or the system.
You said little or no progress. Is this something that we should expect to take 5 years, a decade, something like that?
No, an average system, given the amount of interaction and support, we generally see significant, noticeable progress. We have not seen that in DeKalb County.
What role does the County Board of Education play in either creating or fixing these issues that you're talking about?
First, they set direction. They establish the strategic direction of the system, something that's been absent in this system for many years and is still a need that must be addressed. Secondly, they establish the resources upon which the system will operate. They have a fiduciary responsibility to oversee not only the approval of budget, but ensuring the budget is carried out in the way in which it is approved. Third, they establish policy upon which it guides their work, but most importantly, it also guides the work of all of the key stakeholders, from teachers and administrators to students to parents to the community. They establish the policy frame upon which the system operates each and every day.
In taking a look at DeKalb and how the board's role shaped some of these issues, what sort of resources did you rely on in writing and ultimately producing this report?
Each of these reports, first and foremost, we had access to all of their policies, minutes of board meetings, videos of board meetings. We had access and requested their emails, read their email exchanges between them and the administration to get an understanding of what was happening outside of board meetings as well as what was happening during board meetings. We looked at their budgets, their audits, and additional, for instance, the special audit they had by KPMG.
In particular, was anyone on the board skipped in that review? Did you just not review certain areas or things like that?
No, we looked at the entire function, responsibilities, and activities of the board as a whole.
Since that October 2012 report said that little or no progress had been made, what has happened in DeKalb since then?
Well, there was hearings before the state which resulted in 6 of the board members who were still present on the board, as opposed to when we did the review on October 12. There were 3 new board members that were not part of the October 12 review. 6 went to the state board on a hearing as required by the state of Georgia, and ultimately the governor removed those and replaced them with 6 new board members.
In regards to meeting the standards and the issues that were identified in that October report, what has happened since the removal of the board members?
Since the removal of the board with a new board, and we conducted a monitoring visit last month, we have, and I've met with the new board as well as the interim superintendent, we've started to see progress. Prior to the new board being installed, there was no progress on the October 12 findings. But since then, the board is mobilized to address those. They are working through a budgetary process. They've begun discussions on a strategic plan, and they've looked at all 11 required actions in our findings, and are beginning to formulate and implement plans to address those. The system is moving in a positive direction at this time.
To what do you attribute the reason being for the system moving in a positive direction?
First and foremost, board members individually and collectively understand their role and are committed to carrying it out and are functioning appropriately in that role.
Is that something that was present on the old board?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further for this witness.
All right. Dr. Speaks, now you can cross-examine Dr. Elgart. Let me caution you, this is a time for questions, not argument and not speeches. And I mean that very generically. I'm not implying you're going to do that. I'm just, as someone who's representing themselves, I want to make sure you understand that. Okay.
Mr. Elgart, you mentioned that the review team had videos, emails, et cetera, that provided evidence of how the board was functioning. Can I ask you if, as you and the team reviewed any of the videos, the emails, was there any evidence there that, since this is my hearing today, specifically would warrant the opinion, your opinion, that I am guilty or was guilty of any conduct that would jeopardize the system and their accreditation?
There has been no evidence that your presence on the board was having a positive impact on the school system.
That was not responsive. I think her question was, is there evidence that her service was having a negative impact? Is there specific evidence that her service was having a negative impact on the system?
Okay, as far as the email exchanges and everything, that was read by the team, and I can't speak to the emails that you referenced.
And did you have access to any of their notes or emails prior to the review teams?
No, I was not involved in the review process. My only interactions, as you well know, with you was during the mediation sessions and during any activities in which I engaged the board directly, either in a public meeting or in those training sessions.
You also mentioned that during the last 10 years, DeKalb has had issues. I came on the board in 2009, and you also mentioned that there has been a lack of progress. Can you tell me what ratings the school system received from SACS prior to 2009, even though you say that they still had issues?
In 2003 and 2004, they were placed on probation for governance issues. And over the period of the next 3 years, they were able to remove that for a period of time around 2006 to 2008 or 9. There was no sanctions, but then they started to be concerns again in 2009.
No sanctions, okay. And can you tell us again what you use as for the special review team to come in? What makes a special review team be sent into a school district as it was sent into DeKalb?
What we usually have is communicated either by the system itself or school itself or community. Concerns are documented to us. They're written concerns that are by either signed citizens or signed members of the staff or board relative to that system, and they are calling into question whether or not the system or school is meeting standards. Those concerns that they share with us are not determinants. They just simply give us notice that there may be an issue. We don't make a determination that there's an issue based on just a submitted letter. We actually have to physically go in, conduct a review to determine whether or not there is evidence to support they're not meeting standards. In the case of DeKalb County, we had written, signed documentation from several sources within the community and school system indicating that they believe the system is not meeting the standards required for accreditation.
Was I ever part of any of since it's not just nebulous information, phone calls being made, written documents, was my name ever there? Because was my name ever listed as a person who is not conducting herself in a way that would be fitting the board?
Every member of the Board of Education was listed.
Every member. And do you have evidence of that? I mean, is there something that I was never presented with anything that...
Those were not determining documents, as I said. Those are simply letters that we've received from the school system. We also received documentation, signed documentation from fellow board members indicating that the board as a whole, individually and collectively, was not functioning in an effective manner.
But that...
And that included you.
And that evidence was not given to or shared with any of the board members? Specifically.
What evidence?
That you just talked about. Evidence in terms of specific letters or comments.
The content of those letters was shared with the board, The content of those letters was shared with the administration. The content of those letters were also the subject of the training and mediation in which I conducted with all of you. That those concerns were brought forward in those trainings specifically. Did I provide you with an actual copy of the named person that sent it? No, because those were confidential communications. However, what was communicated in those letters was shared with the entire board face to face in the concerns relative to those communications.
The concerns generally of the board, I was asking specifically of individual board members and specific concerns. Was that shared during the mediation sessions?
I witnessed the concerns of individual board members during the mediation. I saw firsthand the limitations of this board, the board you were on, to perform their duties effectively.
Yes, but did you ever, maybe I missed it, did you ever share with me any specific concerns of any actions or conduct that...
Well, Dr. Speaks, I think one of the limitations, quite frankly, professionally, in my opinion, is that you fail to understand your duty as a board member and carrying it out. And oftentimes you were not fully aware, as you should have been, of the issue, nor what actions you should take. You were also head of a policy committee that failed to take action on revising policies that were being carried out in an ineffective way. For instance, the policy on chain of command, which was adopted by a prior board in 2002, should have been reviewed by your committee, and changes should have been made to that policy, but were not. But your failure to truly understand how to carry out your role contributed to an ineffective board.
Did you make a statement to two board members that you thought that I should be chair of the board chair?
I did not.
You did not?
No.
Okay. Did you make a statement to the news during an interview that you thought that the governor might be moving too fast with suspension of the board?
Objection, Your Honor. This is calling for a hearsay statement, an out-of-court statement. You're supposed to read the matter asserted, and I'd ask that the question be struck.
What was the question again? Say your
I was
question.
asking whether Dr. Elgart made a statement that to news reporter that the governor might be moving too fast with suspension of the board.
That's not hearsay. His statement. Did he say it?
Yes,
Did
I
he
was
say it?
asking.
I did not
Overrule the
say it.
objection.
I did not say
You
that.
did not say that.
No.
Did you make a statement in terms of the governor ever moving too fast with any decision?
No.
That's it for me.
Doctor, I'm sorry about my Elgart.
Yes.
I'm going to eventually be reading Advanced Ed Report of Special Team Review, January 24 to 26 of 2011. I'm assuming you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to find anything in there specifically criticizing Dr. Speaks?
By policy, we do not reference individual board members' names. We're evaluating the performance of the entire board, and that's what you will find. We do not do it by member. We are evaluating performance as a unit because they're the legally constituted body.
And so that would be your same answer for the report in March of 2012 and October of 2000.
Yes.
Same basic answer. If you are familiar, are you familiar enough with the KPMG report to
Yes.
answer that question? Is she specifically mentioned the KPMG report
I'm not
critically?
to that. No, I'm not familiar enough to say what names are in that report.
Okay.
I know the findings in that report.
I mean, I'll read it eventually. I'm just trying to.
But I don't know if there are names cited in that report.
Same with the DeKalb grand jury presentments. Are you familiar with that enough to
I've
answer
read
that?
it, but I could not answer that question.
Okay.
either.
All right. In light of my questions, Dr. Speaks, do you have any other questions?
For Dr. Elgart?
Yes. Okay. Any redirect examination?
Nothing further now.
All right.